Hey guys, it's Dan Sfera yet again from theclinicaltrialsguru.com with another video response to a viewer question. Thank you, keep them coming. If you have a question about clinical research, get at me. Dan at theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Again, Dan at theclinicaltrialsguru.com. I'll keep you anonymous. I got one today from a new viewer, so thank you very much. It's regarding phase 1 clinical trials, and he says, "Hi Dan, my name is," and I'll keep his name anonymous. I got a job at a CRO that currently does phase 2 through phase 4 research, and I'm not going to give away the city. So it sounds like they do outpatient studies right now. They hired me to do research in phase 1 to see how possible it is to expand their operations to phase 1 research. So it sounds like you are taking over a business development aspect of clinical research, which, by the way, check out my DVD, How to Get More Studies for Your Clinical Research Site. I think it will be perfect for you. Shameless plug. Anyways. So they hired me to expand their operations to phase 1 research. The first step is trying to partner with a hospital. Yes, although the first step even before that should be getting the study. But, yes, that is a very important step. It seems like there are many benefits from the hospital's perspective, such as filling empty beds, getting a boosted reputation for being a research hospital, get some uninsured patients into the research so they can have free tests and get paid. From your perspective, what are the best selling points to show hospitals how beneficial partnering up with a CRO would be? Alright, so yes, the main benefit is to fill empty beds. Hospitals are a business, and they want what's called heads in beds. I am very close to the hospital industry. I know a few people who run some hospitals, and they have the famous saying, heads in beds. That's their metric. So if there's not heads in beds all the time, they're not optimizing their business for their shareholders and giving their shareholders a return. So that is the main reputation. That is the main benefit for the hospitals as far as doing research. However, and also the reputation, if you're a hospital that can claim that you've done research, you get a boosted reputation for being a research hospital. That is all true. One of the downsides I want to add is the IRBs. Many hospitals have their own IRBs, what are called local IRBs. So when you start the study, if you partner with a hospital, you're going to have to deal with their IRB. And for anyone who's worked in this industry long enough, you'll know that central IRBs are much more preferable for research, especially for study startup activities, than local IRBs. For a number of reasons, I'm going to link to a video I did on central versus local IRBs earlier. I'm not going to get into that here, but I will link to it for you. You can just search it on my blog also, central versus local IRBs. So that's the one downside I would say, is to partner with a hospital, is the central IRBs. Plus, many times the hospitals are going to charge you a lot of money. It might be better to partner with a nursing home or another research center that has inpatient capabilities and might want to rent space out to you. Just make sure you're not competing, because they may obviously not want to help a competitor out. But nursing homes are good. Assisted living facilities are also good, depending on what area of the country you're in. And I see what area you're in, but I'm not going to mention it. But yes, there are lots of assisted living facilities there. Now, again, from the hospital's perspective, their main benefit is getting heads in beds. Number 2 is if any of your doctors, any of your PIs, many hospitals are short of physicians. So if any of your PIs can possibly let the hospital know that they're willing to see patients there in the hospital would bend over backwards in order to get that doctor even a couple of hours a week in the hospital for coverage. I mean, they need weekend coverage often, they need like holiday coverage, they just need coverage. Hospitals are having a hard time getting doctors to cover in the hospital because of my next point, which is insurance compensation. whether that's Medicare, Medi-Cal, or just private insurance reimbursement for bed days and hospital procedures, those are going down. I mean, this is not going to turn into a political video, but reimbursements are going down, whether it's for doctors, for hospital companies, or for drug companies. Insurance reimbursements, whether private or government insurance, are going down, and it's going to only continue to go further down. So hospitals are trying to subsidize this with creative things like clinical research, private patients, things like that. So when you're a research clinic and you're offering to pay cash for the hospital stay plus the procedures, and you have a 30-day turnaround, they are very, very likely to accept that, especially when you compare that to insurance and government reimbursement, which many times is much more than 30 days. I've heard 6 months sometimes to get Medicare to reimburse. So those are some of the positives from their hospital's perspective. As far as getting the uninsured patients into the research, I mean, that's kind of crossing the line, especially if they have their own IRB for coercion, what they call coercion, or getting study participants in the study based on the fact that they are impoverished and they are maybe not, maybe they don't have all the benefits that you and I might have, especially if they're uninsured. So once you start treating research like a medical treatment, that's kind of crossing the line. But I understand that the hospital might want to funnel these patients into another area so that they can at least get compensated for their bed stay. So the hospital's already going to know that you don't need to have that as a selling point. What I would have as the selling point is getting heads in beds. You're paying cash. If they want, you can show them your bank account statement so that they're confident that you'll be able to make the payments. And dealing with their IRB and getting your doctors. So if you have several doctors at your clinic, you might want to work on building a relationship with that hospital. But don't shy away from looking at nursing homes or assisted living facilities and just renting out some space from them. Oftentimes it'll be much cheaper. You won't have to deal with local IRBs, and you'll have a much more profitable phase 1 study. So it sounds like I need to do more videos on this topic because I can go on forever. Hopefully this helps answer your question. Let me know. Just send me follow-up questions, and I'll clarify further on this video. This is Dan from theclinicaltrialsguru.com. I wanted to give a shout out to my Clinical Trial Guru producers. That's Sarah Elizabeth Siegler, Resolve Research Solutions, Accurate Clinical Trials, Erdhart Clinical Trials, PTNR, Patrick Stone, Darshan Kulkarni, Biopharm Systems, Zymewire, Mozio, South Coast Clinical Trials, and Breakthrough Clinical Trials, and St. Paul Medical Research Center in Miami, Florida. Keep sending your questions. Thank you for the question on phase 1 studies. Make sure you have enough studies to get. Check out my How to Get More Studies for Your Clinical Research Site DVD, which is on the top of my blog right here. And again, Dan from theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Take care.